What if everything that we've been told about addiction is only half the truth? Good afternoon. I want to take some time and talk about something today that affects millions of lives, touches almost every family, and yet remains deeply misunderstood, and that is addiction. More specifically, I want to challenge a belief that's become almost sacred in modern society. The belief that addiction is purely a disease and that choice plays no role in it. I understand that might sound controversial, maybe even harsh, but if you stay with me, you'll understand that I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to ask hard questions and ask them with compassion. Are we helping people by taking choice out of the conversation, or are we hurting them? So let's start with something simple and something that often gets lost in the emotion surrounding the topic of addiction. And that is, addiction begins with a choice. No one wakes up suddenly addicted to alcohol, to heroin, to nicotine, or gambling. That first drink, pill, that first puff, that is a decision. Now, that decision, is it always made under the perfect circumstances? Of course not. Sometimes it's made under stress. Sometimes it's made in pain, in trauma, in desperation, or under pure pressure. But nonetheless, it is still a decision. And that matters because it means that agency was and is present in the beginning of that. Now, here's where people push back. They say, but once someone's addicted, they lose control. The brain is hijacked. They can't just choose their way out of it. And here's the part that is true. Addiction does change the brain. And neuroscience does have evidence of that. The reward system, the impulse control, the decision making, all of those get rewired. But here is the key as well, is that change doesn't mean destruction. Yes, addiction, it reshapes the brain, but so does recovery. The brain is not a fixed system, it is adaptable. So neuroplasticity means that healing is possible. That the very same organ that got rewired through addiction can also be rewired through intention, through support, and through effort. And we know this because we see it. Every day, people are overcoming addiction. They get clean, they stay sober, they rebuild, they come back to life. But how do they do that? It is through the willpower, it is through support, it is through treatment, and it is through time, and most of all, it is through choice. So let me give you a real image to hold on to. So imagine someone sitting in a rehab center. They've hit rock bottom, their health is failing, their relationships are a wreck, and they're scared. That moment right there is not the end of their story. It is the beginning of a new one. Why do I say that? Because at that moment, that person can make a choice. They can choose to ask for help. They can go to therapy. They can go to their first 12-step program. They can wake up the next day and try again. And yes, that choice, it might be shaky at first, but it is still their choice. Now, I want to be clear that acknowledging choice is not about blaming people. It's about empowering them. If we tell someone that addiction is only a disease, we risk stripping them of something very vital, and that is the belief that they can do something about it. We risk replacing agency with victimhood, and victimhood, while it's sympathetic, is disempowering. Addiction is hard, incredibly hard, but people do recover. And when they do, they often say something powerful like, no one could do it for me. I had to decide that I wanted it for myself. And while yes, some people are more vulnerable to addictions, that genetics play a role, trauma, mental illness, poverty, these are all real risk factors. But vulnerability does not equate destiny. And it is not going to define that for anyone. When we say addiction is only a disease, we're not telling the whole story. We're not acknowledging that choice and responsibility still play a role. And let me make a distinction that matters. There is a difference between fault and responsibility as well. It may not be someone's fault that they became addicted, but it is their responsibility to seek help, their responsibility to seek healing and to fight for their future. And society has a role. And when we stop holding people accountable for their actions out of sympathy, we also stop expecting them to rise. We normalize self-destructive behavior and we lower the bar. But what if instead we raised the bar and we told people, you're stronger than you think, you're not powerless, and you can do hard things? Addiction is a battle, no doubt, but it is a winnable one. People are not passengers in their own lives. They are drivers, and every day that they have a chance to take the wheel and choose a different road, let's stop pretending that they can't, and let's start helping them believe that they can. Thank you.